Hello, everyone, and here we have a new story. Before we get to that, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and be sure to write comments in order to participate in the development of the community. Write how to improve my community, current topics and the stories you are interested in, and much more. I read and listen to all the comments. People write me stories by mail from different countries. There are problems with translation. I apologize for this. I will work on it and try to fix these errors. I want to thank everyone for their support and the people who wrote to me by mail, broadcast news stories. New videos on my channel are published once every 2 days at 7 p.m. Don't forget to put a bell in order not to miss new videos. And now, let's go. Hello, I want to tell you my story. In the summer of 2016, I was 29 years old at the time of the incident. My wife is 26 years old. We had a son who was 5 years old. To all my offers to spend time together, my wife replied that I did not want to. She stayed at home, and I was at work from morning to evening. We had sex very rarely. It all started corny. A password for on mobile phone, on password for on laptop. I think everyone has heard this phrase, "This is my personal space and I don't want to tell you everything." That's where my doubts and suspicions came from. I'm a very jealous person in my own right, especially if I notice secrets, even though there shouldn't be any in the family. One day when my wife went to take a shower, my knowledge in the field of it bore fruit. I copied the temporary browser files to my laptop, thanks to the smart people who invented cookies. Thanks to this, you do not need to constantly enter your username and password. In general, I went to my wife's social networks and started looking for dirt in the correspondence. There was a surprise waiting for me. I came across a conversation with a guy. He lived on the other side of our city. My wife had a very gentle dialogue with him. One message that I will never forget. I quote, "I am looking forward to our mating. It's been a long time since I've had such feelings and emotions." Now, I will tell you a little about myself so that the course of my actions is clear. We met my wife on social media. She was the first to take the initiative. At that time, my wife broke up with her boyfriend and was just looking for new acquaintances. We continued chatting for a week, then went on a first date. On our first date, we spent the night by the river and chatted all night long. I do not know how to get acquainted on the street. That is, when I approach a girl and get to know her, I feel uncomfortable. In general, as you understand, I am not a ladies' man. My wife's secret life pushed me to go further and look for evidence. I needed ironclad arguments. One fine evening when our son was already asleep, I managed to spy the password on my wife's mobile phone. 3 hours later, thanks to my inflamed brain, which kept me awake, my wife was fast asleep and the phone was under her pillow. Like a spy or a thief, I carefully take out my wife's mobile phone with 2 fingers. Then, I turn down the brightness to a minimum, cover myself with a blanket, and start looking for the information I need. I didn't have to dig into her phone for long. I found this guy on WhatsApp. His profile was named the same as in other social networks. I learned a lot of new things for myself. As it turned out, my wife doesn't live with me. I left her, and she stayed with the baby. But we haven't officially divorced yet. But I visit my son very rarely. I was shocked by what I saw. Judging by the correspondence, my wife had an affair with him for a long time. Their affair located at least 6 months. In general, I found the information I needed. I knew when they would meet next. I knew the exact date and time of the meeting. After that, I carefully put the phone back under the pillow. After a while, the next day arrives. In the morning, getting ready for work, my wife asked me to buy something delicious. She was in a very good mood. I haven't seen her like this in a very long time. My job was traveling around the city. I couldn't take time off from work because there were reasons for that. At 11 o'clock, I talked to my wife on the phone. She tells me that she needs to go to the store while our son is in kindergarten. I had my laptop with me and I went to my wife's social media page. She writes to her lover that she is going to visit him at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. At 11:45 a.m., I call my wife. She tells me that she is going to the hospital because her mother has an appointment with a doctor and she wants to support her. At 12:10 a.m., my wife is not answering the phone. I call my mother-in-law and say, "Good afternoon, I can't get through to your daughter. Is she with you by any chance?" My mother-in-law replies that she was at home and wasn't going anywhere. She lived 45 kilometers from the region. In general, puzzle in my head is formed without a doubt. At 12:20, I make a repeat call to my wife. But again, I don't get an answer from her. I saved my wife's lover's number, so I decided to call him. But I only heard the beeps without an answer. I couldn't find a place for myself. I drop everything and tell my boss that I urgently need to return home for family business. My heart was pounding like it was about to jump out of my chest, and my hands were shaking. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Even now, as I write this post, I feel uneasy. In general, I was halfway to my house. I decided to call my wife again. Before that, I had made 15 attempts to reach my wife and her lover. Finally, she picks up the phone. She says to me with displeasure, "Why are you calling me non-stop? I told you, I'm in the hospital with my mom." I tell her, "Can you stop lying to me? Your mom is at home. I called her when I couldn't reach you. Look at your lover's phone. He also has a lot of missed calls from me. My wife's lover didn't know the whole truth, so it's not his fault." Furious, I tell her to go home quickly. My wife was silent for a long time in response, but then she replied that she was going home and hung up the phone. When she returned home, her gaze was fixed on the floor. Perhaps she realized that she had made a mistake, as is usually the case with everyone. She starts crying and telling me, "You are constantly at work. You do not pay attention to me. I am not comfortable with you as before." So I decided to try new emotions and sensations. God, why am I being punished? Cleaning, cooking, it's all on me. I love my son very much. I try to give flowers to my wife once a week. I was constantly asking my wife to go somewhere to rest. I love my wife with all my heart. I never raised a hand against her or lied to her, and she stabbed in the back. I was very offended. To my logical question, "Why didn't you say anything?" I always told my wife, if something is wrong, say it. We will always find a compromise. Have you thought about our son? What was in your head when you took that step aside? I got an answer from her that I've hated all my life. She told me that I didn't know, and then who should know? In the process of collecting my things, I asked, "When did you want to introduce our son to your lover?" My wife's answer discouraged and completely confused me. I wasn't going to introduce our son to him. He's just mine and yours. Then why did you start all this? You knew that I would get the information I needed, even from the depths of the volcano, if I needed it. She tells me she hasn't thought about it. I lived with my mother for several months, and two personalities were fighting in me. One person wanted to start a new life. The second personality always reminded me of my son because he should not live without his father. I won't be able to sleep properly myself if I don't see my son. My wife didn't stop trying to get our relationship back. She cried and begged my forgiveness. She said that our son needs a father and that another man should not be allowed near him. In general, my second personality won and I returned. Someone will say that I am a fool, and someone will say that I am good. We continued to live together. There is no love and agreement between us. We are united only by our son. Out of love for my son, I continued to live in the family. My story ended very sadly. In April 2018, my wife died. She had heart problems. Even though we've been together for almost 10 years, everything good that was between us was crossed out with a marker. At the moment, I am living and raising my son. I have not found a soulmate, and I devote all my time only to my son. For me, children are the most important thing in life. In general, my life continues and I'm moving forward. Good luck to everyone. If you liked my story, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, so as not to miss new videos. Now let's move on to the opinion of the author of the channel. The opinion of the author of the channel. According to tradition, I want to wish strength and patience to our hero. After listening to your story, I realize that you have experienced very strong emotions. I don't see any point in judging you whether you did the right thing or not. Yeah, you made mistakes, but it doesn't matter anymore. Fate ordered it and made changes in your life. You did a great job for not breaking down and continuing to move forward. This is the right decision, and do not take a step back. In any case, I'm happy for you and your son. I hope everything will be very good for you. If you have watched to the end, I want to say thank you very much. I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey of love, betrayal, and redemption. I appreciate your support and encourage you to subscribe, like, and share this story. Your participation and feedback are invaluable for shaping our content and promoting mutual understanding and community growth. Until we meet again.